Can we talk about the kind of trip that dreams are made of? Shalon is gearing up for an unforgettable European adventure, sailing through the Greek Isles and then diving into the heart of Rome with Adventures by Disney. In this pre-trip chat, we're breaking down the plans, the must-dos, and the excitement that comes along with heading off on a once-in-a-lifetime journey. If you've ever wondered what it takes to plan a seamless, magical European getaway, you are in for a treat.
Ready for your fast pass to unforgettable adventures? Welcome to Talk Travel to Me. Featuring our Mickey Guru Travel Company expert travel advisors, this podcast will guide you in traveling with more ease, confidence, and a sprinkle of magic. Tune in for unique insights, insider info, tips, and personal travel stories that'll transform your journeys into exhilarating moments and lifelong memories. Fasten your seatbelt, grab your passport, let's embark, and let's talk travel.
Hey there, and welcome back to Talk Travel to Me. I'm so glad you're here, and today's episode is a fun one. We're chatting with our advisor, Shalon Still, all about her upcoming European adventure. From sailing the Mediterranean to diving into Roman history with Adventures by Disney, this is one incredible itinerary you don't want to miss. Let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast again, Shalon.
Hi, Chrissy. I'm so excited to be back.
I'm so excited. I want to hear, for the people that are listening that maybe haven't heard before, I'd love for you to do a quick introduction of yourself and tell us a little bit about your travel history, because I do believe you're one of the more well-traveled gurus on the team when we talk about international travels for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi, everyone. I'm Shalon Still. I'm a travel advisor who specializes in all things Disney destinations and cruises and all kinds of other magical vacations. I'm here today to talk about my upcoming 9-night Mediterranean cruise to the Greek Isles, plus a Rome escape with Adventures by Disney. This will be my 26th Disney cruise. I'm so excited. Hello, Pearl Castaway Club status. I get a little choked up thinking about it.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I do. It's so much fun. But this is my very first Adventures by Disney trip, which makes it even more special. I've been fortunate to travel internationally to some amazing places like Europe, Japan, and even Fiji. I've never cruised the Mediterranean before, though, so I cannot wait for this new adventure. I will be traveling with my husband, Mike, and we're really excited to get back on the Disney fantasy one more time before they turn that funnel suite into the place that we cannot visit anymore. It was a funnel before, if you've been on the Disney fantasy, where people could get married, and we actually got married there in 2019. So this will be one more trip before it goes into dry dock and turns into a gorgeous suite, which I can't wait to see someday, but we'll probably never get to sail in.
Right. Those funnel suites are nice on the Wish class, but yeah, it is definitely a pricey little spot to call home.
Yeah.
So I love that though, especially since this ship, of all of the other 25 cruises, the Fantasy is definitely a special one for you, knowing that that's where you got married. I love it.
Indeed.
All right. So tell us a little bit about how this trip came to be, because I know it wasn't something you've had planned for a terribly long time. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I think we've only had it planned now for 3 months, maybe. We were still kind of looking for our big trip for the summer because it's been a while since we've done a long trip. This will be 2 weeks in total. So I just kind of started looking. I've always dreamed of doing these cruises in the Mediterranean with Disney, but they're pretty expensive if you've ever looked at them. And so I started kind of researching and noticed that some of the sailings this summer weren't very full. And then typically when that happens, Disney will start offering sales on their cruises, which, as you might know, doesn't really happen too frequently.
Right.
So we did end up booking what's called a guaranteed veranda stateroom with restrictions. So that gave us a significant discount over booking a room and picking exactly where it would be on the ship. So that's kind of what made it more of an affordable item for us to do on this last minute. The one thing to note about guaranteed veranda rooms with restrictions is you do have to pay that in full up front. So sometimes that is a deterrent for people, but because this cruise was last minute, we were already getting close to that paid in full date anyways. The other thing that you need to know about guaranteed rooms is you don't get to pick where they're located. And we finally got ours assigned about 30 days prior to the trip. And we ended up on deck 10, which I was excited about, but it's 10518, and it is right underneath the gym.
Oh.
I'm going to be curious to see if we will be hearing people on treadmills and doing things, or maybe the people just won't be working out on this cruise. But that's just the one thing you got to keep in mind is you have no control over where that stateroom is going to be assigned to you. So I can't wait to report back to find out, was it loud or was it okay? So we'll see.
Are you typically people that are bothered by noise? Like I know some people really struggle if they can hear an elevator or if there's like cast doors that are opening and closing. Do you find that that's something that normally bothers you and Mike or not?
Not too bad. I do travel with a little sound machine now that I bought on Amazon, so that does help drown it out a lot. I did book, I booked specifically a cruise last fall on deck 10, and it was just below cabanas. And the dragging of the chairs in the morning when people started eating was quite annoying, but we're morning people, so it was like, whatever, it's not a big deal. But if you had kids that were sleeping in or babies or something, that could be a huge problem. So we'll see.
I think it was on the Disney Dream when I went for my first, yeah, it was actually the Disney Dream because it was my very first cruise. I did a spa treatment, and the spa on that ship is directly underneath the basketball court.
Yeah.
Like, I was laying there having this like glorious, very expensive massage, and all I could hear was basketballs being dribbled. And I finally said to the therapist, I went, "Did they not plan this right?" She goes, "No, nope, they definitely
No.
did not."
Yeah, at least they made changes later for the other designs.
They did. And honestly, you're still on a cruise ship getting a massage, so it's not like anybody should feel bad for me. But
Exactly.
yeah, getting
The
it.
the one perk that I'm very excited about with this room is because it's all the way forward, we do get to go to our muster drill inside. So usually
Oh,
when you have a room that's all the way forward or aft, you're going to end up either in like the theaters or one of the restaurants or nightclubs. And if you know on Disney Cruise Line, they still make you attend the mandatory muster drill, stand there, listen to it. And most of the places are outside on the deck. And it's summertime in Italy. It's going to be hot. And so I'm excited that I get to sit inside.
yeah. Have some AC strong while you just sit there. Well, they don't take your phones, but you can't be on your phone. So that's a drawback. But sitting in the AC is definitely better than standing out on deck five, just waiting for everybody to show up for sure.
Yeah. So if that's
All right.
important to you, when you book a cruise with us, we can tell you guys when you're booking, the chances of your room being inside for muster drill is high for these types of rooms. So we can always help people with that.
Yeah, for sure. I love that little tidbit that we can offer because it's not something that people typically can just find out on their own. So I love
Hmm.
that. So you're gonna do the cruise, and we're gonna talk about that for sure because I'm a cruise girly too. But I also want to hear about how you ended up on your first Adventures by Disney after that.
Yeah, so I feel like when you start vacationing, planning, things just kind of roll into one thing and there's a snowball effect. And I noticed that there's an Adventures by Disney Rome escape trip that literally coincides with the end of this cruise. And they do this on purpose. There's a lot of times when there's Disney cruises and these short escapes, as they call them, like 3 to 4 day trips that are planned. And so I was like, you know what? We're already flying over there. Why not make the most of it? Let's try this out because I've always wanted to do Adventures by Disney. I've had clients do it, they love it. People go back year after year. So I'm excited to have private VIP tours all around Rome when we get back because it's going to be incredible.
Yeah. So I don't even know where to start. Like I literally am like, let's start there, but let's start with the cruise, and talk about the different ports, what you're really looking forward to as far as like what you're gonna have there, maybe even what you've got booked as far as your excursions or port adventures, as Disney calls them. What does it look like to be cruising the Mediterranean with the stills?
Yeah, absolutely. So this will be my longest cruise to date. I've only ever done up to 7 nights. So I'm excited for a 9 night cruise because it's just more relaxation. But the first port that we go to is Hania, Greece. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And in that location, and I'm trying to pull it up here, we are actually doing quite a few tours actually, because we're tour people. We want to go out, we want to see the areas. We're doing an Old Town and Cretan Festival or Fiesta tour. And it kind of just takes us through some of the Old Town areas. We get some food and some entertainment. I think it was just going to be a good way to see this little port town because because this has been such a last minute trip, I've not done a lot of research on the ports either,
Yeah.
which I normally would. So I figured doing the adventures with Disney, with the cruise line, doing their port adventures is the best way to do that. They take care of you. They make amazing tours. They have great local tour guides usually that help out. So I'm pretty excited about that one.
So then you're stopping in Athens and you're going to the Acropolis, and is it Plaka?
Yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced. I feel like there's going to be a lot of a learning of how to pronounce words while I'm over here. That's always the fun part. Going to new places, learning new cultures. So I'm very excited to see that. Seeing a lot of the history in that location. Fun fact, I was just in Nashville, so I got to see the Parthenon in Nashville, Tennessee. So I took a selfie when I was there for that one. So I'm going to have to get another one with the real one in Athens when we go. Just to make it a fun post, I think that way.
You know, it's funny. I don't think I realize this, and maybe it's just because they don't do it in the Caribbean, but this tour, the Athens Highlights that Disney Cruise Line offers, is adult only. I don't think I've seen that with the Caribbean and Bahamian itineraries. Did I just miss that?
Yeah, it's not very common. There's actually another one that we're doing that is adults only as well on this cruise. So I was very excited to see quite a few options that are adults only. And I think
Yeah.
maybe because there might not be as many kids, even though it is summertime, I will be curious to report back how many kids there will be on this cruise.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably not nearly as many as we see on the shorter cruises and then, closer to home. I'm really curious to see what the ratio to Americans versus people that are actually living in Europe that are taking advantage of having the Disney cruise ships there for the summer.
Yeah, and one tidbit about that, because I booked so late, a lot of times you get waitlisted for dining for the premium time.
Mhm.
Normally on cruises, the premium time is early dining. It's not the case for the European cruises. It's the late dining because Europeans tend to eat later than Americans do. And so I was waitlisted for the 8:15 dining and finally got it because I prefer the later dining and because you're in the port so long, I don't want to have to rush back from the port to get back to eat dinner on the ship or just have to do like cabanas or actually like cabanas like the pool deck or something because cabanas isn't open anymore for dinner. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was very surprised by that
Hmm.
it's a flip.
Yeah. Interesting. So then you're going from Athens to Rhodes, Greece, and you're doing a pirate sea kayaking tour?
Yeah, we didn't know a whole lot about that one in this area. We wanted to do something with the water. There was no scuba diving, unfortunately. We were really hoping to have like a diving excursion in one of these ports, but no luck there. So we decided let's do a kayaking tour. I think they really just kind of give you like a history of like pirate activities in the past, like a historical tour. You get to go to a beach and you have like a picnic on the beach right there, which will be really nice. So I'm really excited about that one. I got my little dry bag for my phone, so I'll definitely be able to get some video while we're out there. But just, I need to be on the water. Even though I'm on a cruise, I still need to be on the water.
Same, same. And the water, I've never been to Greece yet. But one of the things that I find so attractive about it is the color of the water over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I can imagine being in a sea kayak and just being that close to that water is going to be really cool.
Yeah. And one thing to note too, a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go to the beaches and stuff. Their beaches aren't the same there. They're so rocky, right? They're not like a Caribbean or Bahamian beach that's sand. So there's not a lot of beach excursions that were available. There was a few here and there, but they aren't the same if people are used to Caribbean or Bahamian cruises.
Yeah. Well, and then you're going to Santorini.
Yeah.
Um, and the highlights tour that you're doing looks amazing because you're going to go to a winery and a church and a Greek restaurant. I mean, a Greek restaurant in Greece. I
Yeah.
guess that's,
It's a must do.
yeah. Oh, that it just looks so amazing. How many sea days are they having on this ship, on this
There are
itinerary?
3 sea days. So the very first day is a sea day after we embark on our cruise. And then there's one about midway through and then one at the very end. So it's kind of nice to have the broken up portions like that and more relaxation. I love sea days.
Yeah. Oh, I would do a cruise with only sea days, to be honest. Those are my favorite. Now, this itinerary is different because there's awful lot of things to see, so that's cool too. But your last port is actually Naples or Pompeii. Um, So, out of the ones that we've mentioned that you're going to be visiting now, what are you most excited about?
I am pretty excited for the Naples one because we're doing a Mount Vesuvius hike. So we get
Oh.
to go hike a volcano, and it hasn't really erupted in a long time, so I'm not concerned. And if you've watched the news, you've seen that, um, the other volcano in Sicily had erupted recently. So I'll be curious to see if we see any smoke from that one. But we're doing a hike, but this one is the other adult only excursion as well. And so that'll be interesting to do that and then also visit a winery. So I think Naples is up there and then obviously Santorini, right? I mean, you see Santorini everywhere, like you said, Mount Maria and just everywhere you've seen Greek stuff, it's usually Santorini or Mykonos, something like that. So I'm excited for the blue roofed homes and just that picturesque part of it.
Yeah, it looks so amazingly beautiful. I can't. I'm so excited for that part for you. So that's your 9 nights on the Disney cruise and the Disney Fantasy. And then you're doing the ABD. As we mentioned, it's the Rome Escape. So talk to us a little bit about how does it work? Like you get back to, I can't say it. It's they call it Rome, but it's not Rome. It's
I
Civic.
think it's Civitavecchia. Civitavecchia.
Okay.
I will
I'm
find
always
out and
like,
report back.
right. Um, so talk to us about how that goes. You get off the ship and what happens?
Yeah, so when you get on the ship, they do have Adventures by Disney representatives on the cruise line. So I'm definitely going to be checking in with them just to find out what information, because I really haven't gotten any information from Adventures by Disney other than they will meet me at the cruise terminal. My understanding from my previous clients who recently did this trip was you need to be off early. And so there wasn't a lot of communication to them about that. So I'm going to try to find out if that's still the same case. Maybe there was just a little bit of breakdown since it might have been one of the first ones of the season that they did, but they needed to basically eat breakfast in cabanas and get off the ship. Um, and if you don't know about where the Rome port is, it is nowhere near Rome. It is like
Right.
over an hour away from the city. And so people usually either do trains, which can go on strike quite frequently, or private transfers with buses and such. So luckily, the Adventures by Disney team, part of their VIP services, they will pick you up right there and whisk you off to your hotel. So it's stress free from that point onwards. They got it all completely handled, which is nice.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of the things that my clients love most about Adventures by Disney. And it sounds like one of those things that probably isn't a big deal until you experience it, that they take care of all of those little loose ends. No matter what kind of trip you're doing, they worry about the details, so you just show up. So you like hand them your luggage and they're going to whisk you away. The Adventures by Disney that I did years ago, I got to hold that paddle of power, and I would highly recommend asking your adventure guide for you to be able to do that too, so you can get a picture. But that they really do wave that little paddle of power, and it gets you opens doors that would otherwise not be open. So that's super
Yeah.
cool. So you're drunk. Oh my God, that words just did not like they just got stuck right there. So they're gonna whisk you away for an hour's drive into Rome, and then what happens there? You're there for 3 nights, right?
Correct. Yeah, 3 nights. So that first day that we're there, the first probably 3 quarters of the day, honestly, is kind of just free time where they get you checked into your hotel and then they do a welcome dinner where you get to meet the rest of the people that are on your tour. That's really important, especially for the longer tours, because you really start like making friends. If you have kids with you, the kids make friends with other people's kids. That first night is just a welcome dinner, basically, and then we get to sleep. And then for this one, we're actually staying at one of the really nice Marriott hotels in the northern part of the city, which is close to one of the walls and close to a park, which is really nice. I've been looking at it on Google Maps, so I think I may go there and walk around some and just kind of enjoy some nature inside of a hustling, bustling city.
Oh, that sounds so nice. Oh, so while you're in Rome, is this itinerary doing like a visit to the Vatican and that type of thing?
It does, yeah. So they do say that the days 2 and 3 could be potentially swapped depending on activities. And I know from my recent clients who were just there, that did happen to them. The new Pope was actually doing some meetings inside the Vatican. And so the day that they were supposed to visit, they couldn't because of that. So they had to flip. And that's where the Adventures by Disney team came in clutch because they basically switched everything around, got all the tours changed, and it was seamless for the guests. Even though they knew it was happening, they didn't have to stress about it, and it all just worked out perfectly. So yeah, we do get a private guided tour when that will happen in the Sistine Chapel. I believe it'll be pretty early in the morning from what I've seen. You kind of go in before the masses go in, and you can't
Hmm.
really do that any other way.
Yeah.
I don't really know of any other tour groups that get that kind of VIP access like Disney does.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've heard since I started in the travel industry is that, you can definitely do a Vatican tour with other tour operators. Like lots and lots of them do it. But Disney does have that access where it's either early in the morning or late at night. So rather than going through the Sistine Chapel with that like shuffle, shuffle step kind of a
Mm-hmm.
mentality, you're there with 40 other like Adventure by Disney guests, up to 40, and the two guides, and then like two or three local guides. Like, and that's it. So
Yeah.
I actually had clients years ago that did it, and they got to lay on the floor of the Sistine Chapel and like be able to take in all of the art and all of that. Like, so I can imagine that experience is got to be awe-inspiring. Like,
Yeah.
just I cannot wait to hear how that goes. I've also heard that sometimes the guests at Adventure by Disney are allowed to take photos, which normally you're not allowed to take photos in the
Mm,
Sistine Chapel. But there actually are photos of my very first clients that did this trip, them laying
interesting.
on the floor, and then they had pictures of the top. So,
I will
and
report back.
yeah, I'm excited to hear if they're still doing that. I do happen to know that those clients are definitely rule followers, so they were given permission to do it. I know
Yeah.
for sure, but that's not typically allowed, when you're
Okay.
going in there. So, interesting.
Yeah.
All
So on
right.
that day, if we do that, that's pretty much the start of the day. And it could take several hours, I think, when you do those tours of the Vatican museums and the Sistine Chapel. And then they actually have a mosaic class, so you can go in and make your own mosaics. It's nice that you get to make your own item that you can take home. They also give you a lot of recommendations, the tour guides, because you do have some free time to do stuff on your own. So I'm definitely going to be asking them, like, where's the best place for getting pasta and gelato and all of that.
Hmm.
And then the other day, depending on which way it works out, is we just basically get a private guided walking tour, sorry, of the city where they take us around to all the top spots like the Spanish Steps, the Parthenon, the Trevi Fountain. We actually get a pizza lunch that's our own private lunch that will be happening, and then also a tour of the Colosseum, which I'm very excited about. I've heard that's a really great tour. They give you a lot of really good information as well. So just it's going to be amazing because I don't have to think. Normally, when I
Yeah,
go on vacations, I have to plan everything, but now I get to be a passenger princess and they just tell me where to show up and give me all the information.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Especially being the travel planners in our families, right? Like we're always the one that's in charge of the itinerary. So the idea that you're just going to be like, here, take care of me. Like
Yeah.
that is mind-blowingly awesome. I can't wait to hear how it all goes. All right, we will be back in just a minute. We are going to come back and talk about prepping like a pro, what Shalon is packing, planning, and what you might want to expect if you're taking a trip like this. It's time for Mickey Guru Mythbusters, where we clear up the confusion, crush the rumors, and help you travel smarter, not harder. Let's bust today's myth. Myth: cruising the Med is only for retirees or the ultra wealthy. Not so. While you definitely could blow your entire 401k yachting around the Mediterranean, if you plan ahead and book with a cruise line like Disney, it can actually be quite affordable. As an example, in 2026, you could do virtually the same cruise that Shalon is doing, except on the Disney Dream, because that's the ship that will be in the Mediterranean next year. A 9 night in the Greek Isles for just about $8,000 for two people. That breaks down to less than $450 a night per person. That's actually quite affordable. So that myth is not true. All right, now we're shifting into prep mode, and I know you didn't have a whole lot of lead time for this trip, and you're leaving in like what, a day and a half?
Yeah.
Um, So tell us about how you're getting ready, what you're buying, what are you bringing, how does all of that work? And I also know because I follow you on Instagram, Mickey Guru Shalon, I know you have a little tool that's helping you get ready for the time zone change too.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like you said, didn't have a whole lot of time to plan, but the first thing I always do, which I always kind of know in the back of my head what it is, but check my passport expiration. You
Yeah.
cannot travel internationally unless you have at least 6 months validity from the end of your trip, or they will not let you in the country, or they usually don't let you on the airplane here in the US. So you absolutely have to make sure that that's first and foremost. The great thing about Disney Cruise Line and the Adventures by Disney team is once you book trips, they will send you emails right away. As well as us as your travel agents will send you emails letting you know what you need to do, but they let you know instantly what's your travel requirements. Is there a visa required? Not yet. They keep pushing off the ETAS requirement for Europe, so luckily that's still not in place, but it might be by 2026, so we'll see.
Hmm.
Um, Packing wise, surprisingly, I'm already mostly packed, but surprisingly, I'm not really taking that much different than what I would have normally for any other kind of like summertime cruise. I did do research on the weather because obviously it's a new place I'm not familiar with, but knowing that usually it's pretty hot in southern Italy in the summer, and I'm not wrong. It's going to be in the 90s and quite humid almost every day. So luckily, shirts, t-shirts, shorts, skirts, and things like that. The one thing I did have to go get was some longer skirts or dresses because when you do go to like the Vatican and other places, you do have to have your knees and shoulders covered. So typically I might wear something a little bit shorter. So to be respectful, had to go purchase a couple extra things. One thing I did purchase several weeks ago was a pair of shoes, and they're Vessies. And I know you have Vessies and you love
Yes.
them. And I have
Uh-huh.
several people who love them. So I'm like, you know what? This is the perfect trip to get them for. I've already tested them out on a trip to Cedar Point. They did great. And so I can't wait to try those out because they're very comfortable and they're waterproof. And that's something you
Hmm.
really need when you're on long trips like this. Because if it starts downpouring, you don't want wet socks, you don't want wet feet. So excited.
Yeah. I will say a little tip about the Vessies in case you haven't run into this. Make sure your socks are higher than the back of them because in Iceland I had no issues, but recently just wore them like around Maine when I went up for the weekend and my socks were too short and they ripped up the back of my ankles. I'm
Yeah.
still having that. But that was a me problem, not the shoe problem. Otherwise, they're great for being waterproof and they were super comfortable walking around for quite the distance too. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
I love those.
Absolutely. But then again, because we're going to be on the cruise ship, Disney Cruise Line has laundry on their ships, which is not common for most cruise lines that you can do yourself. I want to say it's usually around $7 to do a full load, including buying the soap. And because of that, we're going to pack less clothes than what we normally would for a 2 week trip because we're going to be able to do laundry partway through. Pro tip that I always do for packing is cubes or bags to separate things because it's just so much easier to have that um, organization. And you could also use it in the drawers once you unpack at the cruise line and in your hotels. But also for this trip, my husband and I decided to divide our clothes just in case one bag goes missing, gets delayed, who knows what, right? Airlines, it seems like lately are notorious for just losing luggage. So we divided up our clothing just in case that if something happened, at least we still have some things. I always put air tags in my luggage because I want to know where they are. And I'm constantly staring at that little thing, waiting for it to ping. Like, did it get on the plane? Did it get on the plane? Okay, good. Um,
Yeah.
and then the other thing is always make sure that you're putting all of your valuable, irreplaceable items in your carry on. So things like
Yes.
medications, your passports, any other kind of travel documents, anything that you can't easily replace in your destination. If something were to go sideways with your luggage, carry it with you. The one thing I always carry with me is my contacts and glasses. I don't want to ever have to deal with that. So they always come with me.
Yeah. And I will say, I had a client recently, well, not recently, but within the last year or so, that they put some of their jewelry in their check luggage. And it wasn't like wedding rings or anything, but it was irreplaceable and it disappeared. So the
Yeah.
luggage was there, but what was inside disappeared. So anything that you really can't live without has to be on your person, right? So
Yep.
let the other stuff that you could, I mean, imagine how cool it would be to have to go shopping in Rome to buy new
Right.
clothes. Like, I think that
Oops.
would be quite magical. And if you have travel insurance, which I know you do,
Yep.
that would be covered. So replace the shorts I've already bought. That's fine. I'll go shopping in Rome for clothes. That sounds
Right.
good.
Exactly. The other thing I always do to get prepared for an international trip, since I've gone quite a few times myself, is getting local currency before I leave home. And most banks will let you order local currency, whatever you're going to. So I'm getting euros. Most of them will let you order the currency and deliver it to your house within a couple of days. My bank delivered it in 2 days, and it only cost me $8 delivery fee for the money. And when you order the money through your bank, you get the basic exchange rate that you would see. If you go look it up, this is what a euro to US dollar is, that's what you're getting. Always do that and never exchange money in an airport. They rip you off so bad in an airport with fees and all kinds of other stuff. So definitely don't do that. If you're in a pinch and you do need money, if you have a debit card, ATM card with you, you can pull out local currency when you're traveling that way. Just make sure you know what your bank charges as far as ATM fees. We do have a bank that refunds us for all ATM fees because they don't really have a physical location. And so, if needed, we can get cash out while we're on the trip. But I prefer paying with a credit card no matter what. If it's possible, I'm going to pay with a credit card. And I always make sure that I have a credit card that has no foreign transaction fees, and always make sure that when you're paying, you're selecting the local currency to pay. So you're paying in euros when you're buying dinner, not letting them convert it to US dollars, because when they convert it, again, they give you a terrible exchange rate. So you end up paying more money than you should have.
Okay, that's good to know. I should have asked you about that before I went to Iceland because every time I got that question on the little thing, I went, "Huh," and I picked all
US.
different ones. Like, I was like, I don't really know the difference. It was my first international trip, so we're not going to judge. But it
We're not
was
going to judge. You
when I
learn.
definitely saw that on the thing afterwards, I went, oh, I bet there was a better way to do that.
Yeah, always pay in local. It doesn't hurt anything. And it happens with like Uber and Lyft too. I know that happens when people do that internationally. You can pay Uber and Lyft in local currency instead of US dollars.
Nice. All right. That's a great little tip there. So talk about your time zone thing, because again, well, I did my first trip there. I had a lot of jet lag, especially going there, and then I think it was mostly post-trip depression on the afterwards. But so how are you preparing your body for these changes in time schedules?
Yeah. So I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this app called TimeShifter. And basically, what it does is you give them all of your flight details, answer some specific questions about yourself, like are you a night owl? What time do you typically go to bed? Do you drink caffeine? Do you use melatonin? And then it generates a plan for you before your trip, all the way through you arriving in your location, of how to adjust your sleep schedules and everything else. Luckily, with them, their first time you use it is free. They give you
Oh,
your very first plan for a free trial. And then after that, you can pay per plan. Or if you travel a lot internationally, you can pay a monthly fee, or a yearly fee, I believe, too. But it actually starts with me tonight. I'm supposed to go to bed a little bit earlier tonight and wake up a little bit earlier tomorrow. And then it also tells you when you should get exposure to light, whether sunlight or artificial, if you don't have the ability to get the sunlight, when to stop drinking caffeine if you are a caffeine drinker, and then when to remove as much light as possible. So maybe for like the half hour before I go to bed tonight, I should be walking around my house with sunglasses on, because that actually blocks out enough light that it helps your circadian rhythm know, okay, it's time to go to bed. And I've actually been using a little bit of melatonin too at night, just to help give me that little extra, like, all right, sleepiness. And it accounts for that too. So I'm really excited. It'll tell me to take a nap on the plane as I'm traveling on Thursday for a few hours as well. And it's interesting. And it'll go all the way through, I think, the second day we're there. And then it says by that point, you should be fine. And then it'll just
wow.
happen the same in reverse. At the end of the trip, it'll start telling me doing these things leading all the way back. So I'm excited to find out how it works because when I went to Japan, I was loopy. I was so out of it because of the time difference between, I was in Florida at the time, went to Florida to Japan, and I didn't know where I was that first day, I felt like.
Oh yeah. What is the difference in Japan from East Coast time? Is it 6 hours? 8 hours?
Oh gosh, no, it was like 13 or 14, I think.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
was loopy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a lot between Arizona and Italy too. So it's going to be a big adjustment. We do have an overnight flight, so I'm going to hope to sleep some of that flight from Newark, but we'll see. I don't always sleep good on airplanes.
Yeah. Well, plus you're gonna be so excited. Like
Yeah.
I get it, like the airplane thing is definitely a piece of it, but I can't imagine like you're about to go on this incredible adventure that like if you don't
Yeah.
take melatonin, you may not fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe a glass
Oh,
of wine. We'll see. Just help a little bit.
yeah. Oh my goodness. This has been so much fun diving into the details of your trip. Honestly, like cruising the Greek Isles and then exploring Rome and the Adventures by Disney and knowing what it means to be a passenger princess. Like, oh my goodness. The best part for us and maybe you and your husband is that this is just the beginning. Shalon will be back after her trip to give us the full scoop about what she loved, what surprised her, and what she absolutely thinks you and I need to add to our future travel wish list. In the meantime, I will say if you want to follow Shalon, it's at Mickey Guru Shalon on Instagram. She might be posting, but we're also hoping she'll go off grid for a while and just have a true vacation. But if you follow her, you'll see any stories that she has and you'll get to see that. Also, I promise to be sharing anything that I see over on the podcast Instagram, which is at Talk Travel to Me Pod. So there'll be a lot of sharing going on, but you definitely will see it first if you're following Shalon. Um, blah, blah, blah. And if this podcast has left you feeling inspired, reach out. We'd love to help you plan your next magical escape. Now, you're going to have to wait a little bit for Shalon to get back, but once she's back, she'll be poised and ready to help you plan your adventures by Disney, your Disney cruise line experience. Although it will be probably not this year because they're pretty sold out for the rest of the summer, I think. But we can get you booked for next year. So feel free to reach out for that. And until then, I hope you have a magical time. And Shalon, I cannot wait to follow along on your journey.
Thanks. I can't wait to share.
Thanks for listening to Talk Travel to Me. We hope this episode cracked open inspiration for the treasures that await you at your next dream destination. If you love the show, please review, subscribe, and share it with a friend. At Mickey Guru Travel Company, we're your trusted guides for theme parks, cruises, resorts, and more. Visit our website at mickeyguru.com to learn more and book your vacation today.